Coming up next on the Breadwinning Mums.
Own your seat at the table. And that comes back to knowing that you're enough. It's okay to be different. Being different doesn't mean you don't belong.
It's okay to be different. Own your seat at the table.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Imagine how boring it would be if you walked into an ice cream shop and all they had was vanilla.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Breadwinning Mums podcast. This is a place where we debunk the myths of working mums, cheer each other on, and show the world that you can be a mum and still pursue excellence in your chosen area of expertise. Today we're chatting with Justine Campbell, a clinical therapist and positive psychology business coach at the Lotus Collective. Justine shared her life story about growing up as a young girl in Australia before exploring and living in 8 countries around the world, marrying a hotelier and starting a 7-figure business in Hong Kong, to then moving back to Australia to found the Lotus Collective. I know you'll enjoy this episode with Justine Campbell.
Justine Campbell, welcome to the Breadwinning Mums podcast.
Thanks, Jane. Great to be here.
Justine, we met a couple of years ago during the first Breadwinning Mums book launch.
Was that a couple of years ago?
It was 2 years ago. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Time
Or was it
flies.
last year? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you are a person with so many stories, with so many accomplishments, and a lot of learnings that I'd like to discuss. But before we go into all of that, I'm just going to start with a very simple question. Who are you as a human, Justine?
I guess it's a great question to ask. And as you said, I'm a person with a lot of stories, but everybody has a lot of stories, right? And I often like to ask people, if you were an ice cream flavor, what flavor would you be? And I definitely would not be vanilla. I think I would be maybe something like black sesame with a shot of espresso in it.
Oh, nice.
Unexpected,
Yeah.
and with a bit of, drizzle or topping on the top.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So, yeah, and, as a human, so I am someone who deeply cares about people, that believes that if you can, then you should, that people matter. And that starts with ourselves, that we need to matter to ourselves, and then other people matter.
Yeah. How old were you when you first realized this truth?
I think it goes right back to, maybe I was 5 or 6, and I used to write stories about the vegetable family, and this vegetable family would go on different adventures. And I think that's when I first started to really sort of recognize my position in the world and the impact that I have on others and the impact that I can have on myself. So it goes right back.
Yeah, interesting. Isn't it interesting how our life trajectory started really early on if we just dig deep enough?
Mm,
Yeah, but I want to go back to that really young Justine.
mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about her? What was she like? What was your family like?
I was the, well, not was, I am the second born of five kids, second born girl of five kids. And I wasn't the good girl. Uh, I was the rebel, but not because I wanted to be rebellious, but because I wasn't prepared to accept the status quo. I always
Mm,
felt like I was a little bit different from my siblings. Um, but I was somebody back in the day and through the vegetable family that I wrote about. I wanted to see the world. So
yeah.
I had big dreams, and I felt that those dreams were outside of the shores of Australia. So I dreamed of being a flight attendant because I thought that would be one way to see the world. But then I realized that that was pretty boring to be, that was rather vanilla to be a
Yeah.
flight attendant. Uh, so yeah, that right back, to when I was a child, that was what I wanted to do, that I was always somebody that would look outside the box and would speak about the elephant in the room.
Mm,
Mm.
interesting. And see the world you did.
I see the world I did. I've lived in 8 countries
Yeah.
and counting. So,
Yeah.
mm.
Where did you go?
So I've lived in Holland, Indonesia, Japan, Thailand, Hong Kong, Japan. What am I missing? Malaysia, and of course, Australia.
Yeah.
Mm.
Amazing. Which one was if you had to choose one, and of course, this is very difficult. If you have to choose one, which one was the most formative journey that you went through?
It's actually not a difficult question for me. I mean, each country gave me different things, but I
Yeah.
think Japan was definitely the country that had the biggest impact on me and continues to do so.
Mm. I think during the book launch, you talk about how you're trying to shapeshift into the role. You're trying to step into your masculine energy as well. Can you
Mm.
tell us a little bit more about that?
So back when I had the role at BMW in Japan, I was in my early 20s, and I only got the role because I spoke Japanese and I spoke German, and I was in the right place at the right time to fill a role. And I went into this role and replaced a middle-aged Japanese man. And I was young, I was female, and I was foreign. So that was three strikes against me.
Yeah.
And I did everything to shape shift, to hide my age, to hide my gender, to hide my race.
Mm,
And yet you couldn't, I
mm,
couldn't hide the fact that I was foreign, I was young, and I was female. And it was really hard because, when you try to change who you fundamentally are to fit in,
mm.
the messaging, the subconscious messaging that you're sending yourself is that you're not enough just as
Yep.
you are.
Yep. That's so deep. How long were you doing that for until you realized that this is not working out? No.
I mean, it went right through my 20s and into my 30s.
Mm.
It even went to so far as when I actually fell pregnant with my son, and I found out that I was having a boy. I was like, yes,
Wow.
because I didn't realize
Yeah.
that subconsciously again that I
Yeah.
felt boys were better than girls.
Yeah. Wow. Was this something that you observed quite early on as well? I mean, I come from a Chinese Indonesian family where boys were traditionally seen as the favored gender over girls.
Yeah,
Was
look,
this?
I did a
Yep.
lot of work to understand this
Mm, mm,
because that's the thing about our stories. Until we own them, they will
mm,
define us. They will bite
mm,
us in the bum. And
mm,
so once we actually are aware of the stories,
mm.
then we can do something to actually turn them around to serve us.
Yep.
So it was when I did work on understanding this was in my early 30s, I think. And what I realized was I was hustling for my worthiness right back to my father, that I was trying to one up my brother who was younger than me because he was a boy. So he studied microelectronical engineering and I did a foreign language. He went on to work in software programming. I went on to work in the automotive industry. And I continued and continued and continued to try to do better than him, to prove my worthiness to my father, right down to when I was pregnant and I had a boy and my sister-in-law was pregnant with a girl. I felt I beat him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
The
was only
race that,
after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm.
And so after you've done all of the work, the inner work, how has it transformed the way you relate to your family and within yourself?
It's a deep question, and when you say like the inner work, it's
Yeah.
not like you finish it and you
Yeah.
get that degree and you say,
Yeah.
I've graduated now, I'm good.
Yeah.
It is ongoing. The inner
Yeah.
work is ongoing. And my family are the way that my family are, and they're quite different from me. So I continue to be a bit of the rebel and the black sheep in the family,
Mm.
but no longer does that sort of
Hold
role,
power.
like, yeah, it doesn't impact me like it used to be.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like it used to. Um,
Mm.
but it's, that inner work, it means that when you come up against a challenging situation, when you get triggered, I'm able to pinpoint what's going on and
Mm.
actually ask myself what it is that I need.
Mm.
You
And
know,
you respond as opposed to react.
exactly, exactly. And so often people react rather than respond. And
Yeah.
in order to be able to respond, you need to pause and notice that you have actually been triggered
Yeah.
so that you can respond in a way that aligns with who you are.
Yeah. Great. And so you lived in 8 different countries, you
Mm.
lived different lives. So would you mind telling us what your journey was professionally as well?
Well, it certainly hasn't been linear. I, I guess not many people nowadays actually do have a linear life. Look, I started out as an exchange student in Holland, and that was a huge wake-up call, having come from a Catholic girls' school in Australia to a school in Holland where they were rolling joints at the end of class to smoke with their teachers.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh yeah, it was very different.
Yeah.
But that was the start, and it gave me a taste, as a Dutch person, because Holland is such a small country, most of those kids that I went to school with spoke at least four languages because
Mm,
Dutch alone wasn't going to get
mm,
them very far. So they all spoke English, then they spoke German, and they spoke French and Flemish, etc., etc. Right? So that really taught me the power of being like languages. First of all, I feel that languages are such a great asset to have. Now, do I ever use my Dutch now? Spreken Nederlands? Not many people speak in Nederlands. So even my German so much. But there is power in language and there is power in having an awareness of different cultures, right? So
mm,
that was the start of my career. And then when I came back to Australia, Japan was very much the country where so much investment was coming into Australia. And so I'd studied Japanese before, and that was where I was like, okay, I need to do more in this. And what was the best way to really learn language? Live in the country. So I went to university in Japan and really got my language to a point where I was fluent, but it wasn't just the language, it was the cultural studies that I did as well. So other people would just go to language school. I lived with a Japanese family. I studied everything about Japan, cooking, how to wear a kimono, sword fight. I did everything, ikebana. I did it all to really understand the psyche behind the Japanese people. And then from there, opportunities as they came up, I was just like, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And that's basically how my career went. So, and I went back to business school. I did an MBA with a major in marketing. And from there, I set up a marketing agency. I married a hotelier, so that continued our life living in different countries. And it was in my, gosh, I think I was mid 30s, late 30s, maybe 37 or so, when we moved to Hong Kong. And because of a struggle that my own son, my eldest, was having, and I couldn't find what I needed, I went back to study psychology, purely to help him. And then I realized that it wasn't just him that was struggling with these challenges, particularly around anxiety. So that's when I started my business and went on to build a 7-figure wellness clinic in Hong Kong to support the English-speaking community in Hong Kong. And I was known then as the therapist to go to when you wanted somebody that thought outside of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, so I did multiple postgraduate degrees in psychology and systemic family therapy and positive psychology. I realized that what I was doing was just treating at a surface level, and I wanted to go deeper than that. And so I flipped into coaching, and it was at that time that I was looking at, like, I specialized in children in Hong Kong, children and families. But what I realized in that work was that it was the mothers who were the central nervous system of the family. And so if I could support the mothers with the tools, then that would have a ripple effect on the system, i.e. the family. So then I started specializing in coaching and supporting women. And that's where I am now today.
Yeah. That's amazing. What a life. Okay, there's a lot there, and I'd like to discuss it a little bit by a little bit, if that's okay with you. When you realized that your son was struggling, obviously you hadn't had your practice then, but how did you navigate through that early phase?
I think, like a lot of high functioning women, when faced with a challenge, we go into over functioning. We want to fix it, right? Particularly when it's our baby, it's our child. We would do anything for our children. And so I went into over functioning. I went into trying to find a solution. I want to be clear about this. Over functioning and the polar opposite, under functioning, are both in their ways forms of disconnection, because we're avoiding the pain of sitting with the discomfort. Okay. So I went into over functioning. I looked at every possible solution to support my son. And when I couldn't find it, I went and did the study and did what was needed to help him. It's and that's what I saw in mothers that would come in desperation, come and see me to try to help their children. But it's the mothers in particular that, if they do the work and they can actually calm their nervous system and have the tools to stay present and not disconnect, not go into over functioning, then that's going to have a positive impact on their children.
That's so good. There's a lot there. I know it sounds very simple, but there's a lot there. Because when we are giving the space for the pain, for the uncomfortableness, then we are also showing our kids and those we care about that it's okay to be in this space, and this too will pass, but I will stay with you until it passes. And that gives them a lot of courage and a lot of power as well for the next wave.
Yeah, yeah. What's hard is when it's the outside world. So if it's just you and your child, it's all good. But we have to navigate through all the external societal sort of pressure and messaging, right? And that's where it gets really, really hard to stay present and grounded with yourself and your why,
Yep.
despite all the shit that's basically going on
Yep.
around you, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep.
why it's the same with, I see it in different ways with female entrepreneurs. And this is a difference between men and women, females and male entrepreneurs. Women, when they go into starting a business, it's rarely just about the money. It's about wanting to have an impact in this world. It's about purpose. And so they build these businesses, and they build and they build and they build. And as the business finds success, what they find is that they've sort of disconnected from self. They've lost themselves in the climb, right? And again, that's where I come in to bring them back to self so that they can continue to build a business that aligns with who they are. We get
That's
caught
awesome.
up in
Yep.
in outside pressures. This is the way it should be, and we should be doing this.
Yep. Well, because the stakes are getting higher as well. It's no longer just you. It may be that, PE company that has a stake. It may be, well, the bottom line is getting bigger and bigger, and you can't afford to shrink yourself and find yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I remember one client I worked with who had built this business, and it was an incredibly successful business, and she'd got it to the point where it was ready for sale, and it did sell, and she stayed on, and it it was no longer aligned with her, and it was really, and she was like seriously like turning herself into like her stomach was in knots over it. But I should be happy, got all this money, and it's all, it's what I wanted, right? To exit and to or to stay on, still have a part in the company, but you got it to that certain point. But it's like you could put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig, right? No matter what way you dress it up. And so, coming back to, doing the brave thing, the courageous thing that aligns with who you are, it's so not easy.
Yeah. It's much easier to go with the status quo and do the same thing day in and day out and put your head in the sand, but acknowledging that things have changed, or maybe you have changed, you are no longer that person, and you need to follow through with the next phase is the harder thing. Talking about hard things, we talk briefly a little bit about the different phases of relationship and marriage, and there are different marriages. It's not just a linear or black and white, happy families, unhappy families, unlike what Leo Tolstoy has taught us. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about your journey?
Oh, look, marriage, it's so funny because in my work, and particularly as a family therapist, and women would come in, and then they would think it was just their family that had stuff going on, that was doing things a certain way. And I can tell you what goes on behind closed doors, nobody knows. Only you know what goes on behind closed doors, right? And I think the family where everything is so picture perfect, they're actually the ones you need to watch. Right? Behind closed doors. My own marriage, being married to a hotelier, I think was it was a facade for so long. I would often say I feel like a goldfish in a fishbowl where everyone could see us. So you had to be a certain way, right? But it was such a facade. And the thing about having to carry a facade is eventually it takes its toll on you, right? And so I just call it what it is. It doesn't mean I go and speak about my marriage openly, on public platforms, because that story is not for everybody to know. Like, really, it's not for everybody to know. But it's my story and it's my choice. It's my life. It's my family. So, all I would say is on the topic of relationships, you don't know what you don't know. And it's not yours to know. It's not your relationship. And I think when it comes to your own relationships, people need to earn the right to your story. You don't owe people any explanation to explain. People, marriages, they live in bedrooms, separate houses, separate bathrooms, divorced, separated, but living in the same house. In my case, we live in different countries. So what? Like whatever works for you. And that's okay. I think people, and particularly, we look at movies and they feed the fairy tale of what it should be.
Well, the movies, they usually end when they get married or they get together, and that's probably the starting point, if anything. So it's not a good representation of what, an actual relationship is like.
On relationships, my favorite person to follow is Esther Perel.
Yes.
I love Esther Perel's work. She says it as it is.
Yeah.
She doesn't, fuff around. She talks about relationships, and relationships are not vanilla, right? They're like you walk into Baskin Robbins, and there is a whole selection and more types of relationships.
Yeah.
It's when we try to put them into boxes, and this is the way it should be.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you just call it out. It's not no one else's business anyway. One thing that has really caught me by surprise. So I think I mentioned to you before, I separated from the kids' dad early last year. We still live under the same roof because the kids are still quite small and I do want to see them every day. But my friend called me out of the blue. It was during lunchtime and she said, "Oh, okay, tell me what's up, what's going on? Tell me the latest update." And I was at work. I was about to have another meeting. And I was just thinking, I'm not your lunchtime entertainment, but I'm not sure why, but it gives some people the license to just poke around. So thank you for just, saying it. It's no one else's business. You don't owe anyone anything. And so if it works for you, it works for you. You don't need to explain anything.
Yeah. But I think also like in that situation, when somebody asks a question like that or comes in, and this is the work of Brené Brown. And when I first heard, I thought that is crap. She said, the belief that people are doing the best that they can. I said, no, I don't believe that. I think they can do better. I think they should be more sensitive with the way that they ask. They should know that I'm at work. They should know they should do better, right? And I said, I don't believe people are doing the best that they can. And she said, when you believe people are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have, the knowledge that they have, perhaps it's not 100% true, but you will feel better thinking that, and it will allow you to step out of judgment and into a place where you can respond rather than react. Because what happens when people make comments, and believe me, I've had comments made about me, I've had comments made about my kids, my lifestyle choices, and what happens is it triggers that unwanted identity that we have, that, we want to be seen as, the ideal identity is a woman that's got it all together, that doesn't yell at her kids, that has perfect children, that, can juggle it all and make it look easy, right? That's our ideal identity. Yeah. And if people see that and they acknowledge that and, oh, you're doing so great, super mum, fantastic. Oh, we feel good. And it's like, oh, yes, yes, yes. But when they say something that triggers that unwanted identity, oh, she's a bit of a loose cannon, she hasn't got her shit together, watch her, blah, 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 blah. She yells at her kids, kids mess up. When people say something that triggers that, well, then we go into reaction, right? React mode. Yeah. We don't want the world to see that. But here's the thing. If people limit us to that part, they're going to miss out on seeing all the complexity and the beauty that we are. A mixture of absolutely everything. So if
Coffee
people want to put
swirls
you here,
in that like sesame ice cream.
yeah, it's a sesame ice cream with a shot of espresso and some toppings, some drizzle on the top.
Yeah.
They're going to miss out on that.
Yeah.
And so if they want to stay here, well, they're not my people.
Yeah.
But it's also to be able to respond to that and in a way that is kind, compassionate, but clear. I appreciate you're curious about what's going on in my personal life. However, that's not something that I really want to talk about. Would be great to catch up with you for dinner on the weekend if you're free. You know what I mean? Like, that's closed.
Yep.
You're my friend, would like to see you, but that's not open for discussion.
Yep. There's no need to blow your top off. Just move on.
Yeah.
Have you, this is probably something that I have had a challenge with as well, but have you reconciled your guilt towards your kids, or did you even feel it at all in terms of how you are not, this person who got everything together in their marriage?
Oh, great question, because that guilt, it pops up.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I haven't given them a mom and a dad that's present. I feel guilty that I'm not always there. And I tell you what, kids, and your kids are younger. Mine are, my oldest is almost 22. And those kids know the buttons to push that trigger the guilt. And so that's where self-compassion is so key. That, we're doing the best that we can. We genuinely are doing the best that we can with what we've got. We're not perfect. Right? We're not perfect. Do I wish some things were different? Sure. Yeah, I do. But I've done the best that I can.
Awesome. And so you've done the family therapy work. You are currently coaching female entrepreneurs. How has it changed the way you are helping your son? I know that he's now a lot older than when you first helped him through that anxiety transition. But how has all of this wealth of knowledge changed the way you relate to your son and help him be that adult that he is?
It's interesting. So he's in his honors year of clinical psychology.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. So he's writing up his thesis at the moment.
Yeah.
It's changed in the way that now I'm no longer, it's a different role that you play as your kids get older, and you move into more of an advisor role. They come to you with a situation and you ask them, what does support look like right now? Don't jump in to try to fix it. You hold space for them, right? But it's as an advisor.
Yeah.
It's quite different, right? And, it's his life now. It's his life. I've done my best to get him to this stage. And it's been beautiful to watch him grow into the man that he has become. And he will always be my inspiration. He's what got me into this world. And I did it for all my kids. to fight for them.
Mm. Amazing.
Mm.
You had a very successful business in Hong Kong, seven figure.
Mhm.
Why have you decided to come back to Australia?
I came back for my eldest when he was going into year 9 because he'd never lived in Australia, never gone to school in Australia. And I knew that if I didn't give him that opportunity, he'd probably continue. He was in a British school. He would continue in the British education system, end up in the UK, and it would be unlikely that he would come back to Australia. So that's why I came back when I came back. And I also didn't want to just have my children in boarding school and me be living in a different country. It wasn't something that sat right for me.
Mm.
So that's why I came back. Of course, that was
Mm.
just before COVID, and no one
Yeah.
could foresee that the world would shut down. And I had this vision that I would just maintain my practice in Hong Kong. And I did for a while. I just flew back and forth every 3 weeks
Mm.
and was doing online sessions in between and just kept my practice going in Hong Kong. And of course, until borders were shut and I couldn't travel.
Mm.
So, we had to pivot.
Was that a hard decision for you to make? Going back to that concept that we talked about earlier on, how female entrepreneurs, when they build their business up to a certain point, it becomes then a little bit hard to maintain their own self-identity with what they are doing in their lives. And so did you see that play out in your own life? And was it hard to connect back to, no, what really matters for me is my family, is my relationship with my kids, and I want to be within their direct vicinity as they grow up?
I think all along, I've always been very connected.
Mm.
Uh, Always. And always been able to make decisions when I was able to tap into that connection with self.
Mm.
So was it hard to walk away to leave Hong Kong? Absolutely, it was hard because I've been in Asia for almost 3 decades. So
Mm.
it's what I know. And it was a lot harder coming back to Australia without all of the support that I had in Hong Kong, which enabled me to be able to grow my business as I did. Having
Mm.
affordable help in the home meant I wasn't worried if a child was homesick. I knew that they were cared for if I was
Mm.
having to travel or was in the office. And when I came back here, that was a rude shock that I was the Uber driver, the cleaner, the cook, the everything, and continuing to run my business as I was.
Mm.
So it I've always been very connected. I've always been connected with my why. It goes back to when I walked away from my PhD 3 years into my research when it was no longer aligned. And I was,
Mm.
um, my thesis was on anxiety in children in Asia and utilizing a CBT, a cognitive behavioral therapy approach. And it wasn't aligning for me. I was like, what am I doing? And I remember my supervisor at the time said to me, Justine, why are you doing your PhD? Are people going to come to work with you because you can call yourself Dr. Justine? Are you going to have different sorts of clients? Are you going to have more? Why are you doing it? Are you
Mm.
doing it just for the letters, for the prestige, for the ego, um, or something else? And I said, no, it's definitely something else. It needs to align. But of course, to walk away when you've worked so hard for something, it's like a marriage. To walk away when you've put so much effort into it, like,
Mm.
really, can't I just suck it up and just do it? Just
Yeah.
keep going? But you get to a point where you're like, if I continue to suck it up and just do it,
Mm.
then I can't look at myself in the mirror.
Yeah.
And so I walked away.
Mm.
I walked away and trusted myself that it was the right decision at the time. And it was. And that's the thing about life. At the time, you sort of, you think it's the worst thing ever. But what you realize later on is that everything leads to where it is that you're meant to be.
Yeah. Awesome. I think it's that self-respect that you extend yourself, and you can't really ask that from anyone else until you have given yourself
Yeah.
That
It's that
self-respect.
self-respect and trust. It's the fundamental thing that we look for in relationships is trust. We want to trust the other person. We want trust in another person. And how do you build trust? It's bit by bit. It's when people follow through with what they're going to say, with what they say they're going to do, right? And over time we build trust. And the same goes for the relationship you have with yourself. We build trust by following through on what it is that you say you're going to do, respecting yourself enough to take the right road, not the road that's easy or is expected of you. And in doing that, you're showing yourself respect and building trust in yourself.
Yep. Awesome.
Mm.
So you mentioned before that women or mums are the central nervous system in the family, and now you are dedicating your life's work towards empowering women. But during your work helping families overcome anxiety in their kids' life, was there any overarching factor, one common factor that all of those families had to deal with? And how did you help them navigate that phase?
I think one common factor that I saw, and particularly in Hong Kong, in the English-speaking community in Hong Kong, was children see, children do. And high-achieving kids are often the product of high-achieving parents. And when we look, and I founded the Gifted Association of Hong Kong back in the day, when we look at the statistics on gifted children, I'm not talking like trained giftedness, the kids that have been doing Kumon since they were 3. I'm talking kids that are naturally gifted. And we're talking about the top 3% of the country. And if you look at the English-speaking community in Hong Kong, if you've made it in Hong Kong in the English-speaking community, you're at the top of the top. And these kids are the offspring of those, right? And I see they're carrying a lot. So the parents are carrying a lot, and they've got that from their parents. And it sort of the story funnels through. So if I remember when I would do the intake session with parents before they would come into one of my group programs specifically for kids, and around there was a preventative program in anxiety, and I would get up and I would introduce myself and I would tell them a bit of my personal story. And it was a vulnerable story that I would share in front of these parents. And then I would say to them, right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask one or two of you to come up to the front. So this is in front of, let's say, 50 other parents that didn't necessarily know each other. And I'm going to have you share a bit of your personal story. But to warm you up, I'm going to whisper something in your ear, and I'm going to get you to act it out. And the audience is going to try to guess what it is that you're doing. And you could see them in the audience. They would cross their arms, they would pull out their phone, they'd clear their throats, they'd get a bottle of water. They would definitely avoid my eye contact, or the polar opposite. They would stare me right in the eyes so that I wouldn't pick them.
Yeah.
And then I would say, what you're feeling right now in your throat, in your heart, your chest, in your stomach is anxiety. And anxiety is a perfectly normal emotion. It becomes a problem when it stops us from doing something in our life that we should be able to do. So let's normalize it, right? Let's not say there's something wrong with your kids, or, right? Let's normalize it. You, as grown adults, successful, high-achieving adults, also from time to time feel anxiety. Welcome to the human race. So that's the common thread that I would see.
Yeah.
It's not always the case.
Yeah.
But, for my own son, he was anaphylactic as a baby. He almost died numerous times in the first year of his life. I was in and out of hospitals. I was in fight or flight constantly. So it's not surprising that there was a lot of anxiety.
Mm.
And he is gifted. We didn't know that at the time. But, giftedness, people think, oh, you got the smart kid and life's easy for you. Actually, no, right? Because it's not inside the box. It's much easier to fit if you fit inside of the box. It's when you're outside of the box that it's hard.
There's no playbook.
There it is.
It's funny, isn't it? It goes back to that, just sitting in the discomfort, give it space, acknowledge it, give it name if it helps, and just stay with it until you're ready to move on. But it's perfectly fine. It's all part of life, just like, separation and divorces and different type of relationships.
It's life.
Yeah.
You said naming it if it helps.
Yeah.
There's actually psychology behind naming it, right? Because quite often we can't name it. We're so fused with it, we can't actually name it.
Yeah.
But when you can actually verbalize it, externalize it, then we can do something about it.
Yeah. Because you know what it is. It's like pinpointing what it is exactly.
You've named it. You've taken the power, a bit of the power out of it.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. I'm quite conscious of your time. You're a very busy person, and I'm very, very grateful for you sharing your insights here. I just wanted to ask you, knowing all of the wealth of knowledge that you know now, if we could go back to that very young Justine who's about to go on an exchange to the Netherlands, if you could give yourself one advice, what would that be?
Own your seat at the table. And that comes back to knowing that you're enough. It's okay to be different. Being different doesn't mean you don't belong. That's, yeah.
That's a lot.
I see, when you asked that
Yeah.
question, I had
Yeah.
this visual. There's a photo of me at the airport with my brown vinyl suitcase and my little brother, who was much, much younger. I think he was maybe 2 at the time or 3. He's sitting on the top of my brown suitcase. And, it was a big deal to go overseas at that time. And I'm looking frightened, but I guess excited at the same time.
Nervous? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I think it was two stops to get to Europe back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a long way, but it was a long way back then.
Yeah. When you're a bit younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. It's okay to be different. Own your seat at the table.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Imagine how boring it would be if you walked into an ice cream shop and all they had was vanilla.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And one last question that I always ask all guests in the show is, what is your alpha mom song?
Do you know and this is like, I actually put this on. I have an arena playlist for when I'm stepping into it, but my number one there is This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. And I love to actually watch the video that they have of when they were getting it green lighted for the movie that shows the singer coming out and really owning that song, owning her place in that. This is me.
Becoming. Love it. Justine, for female entrepreneurs who are listening right now, how can they find you, and what amazing work, what amazing chapter can they expect to go through with you?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn if they look me up, Justine Campbell. And really, it is. I'm all about helping them. Number one, grow their business, but most importantly, grow their business in a way that aligns with who they are. Growth, connection, and alignment. That's what I'm all about.
Perfect. Justine Campbell, thank you so much for being on the Breadwinning Mum Show. It's been such a pleasure.
You're so welcome. Thanks, Jane.
See you next time.
Thank you.
This episode of the Breadwinning Mums was produced by me, Jane Lim, and our theme music was produced by Sam McNally. We recorded this episode on the lens of Darug people who have passed their parenting story for generations. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and thank them for caring for country. Connect with us through LinkedIn or Instagram at Breadwinning Mums. Until next time.